Episode 7 lets the algorithm declare two men neutralized, then ends by showing us a machine large enough to create their entire world. The missed connection is that both twists reveal how this system recruits useful people, erases inconvenient memory, and lies when its control is threatened. Kennedy's late radio call makes the algorithm's neutralized report provably false, while Daniel's reaction to the Atlanta drill suggests he was chosen before anyone told him the real project. That makes the ending's real mystery, not what the drill is, but why Daniel already belongs to it. The word neutralized becomes evidence against the algorithm the moment Patrick Kennedy calls home. Robert's warning that the forgetting drugs are already in the water forces Juliet to send Lucas, Kyle, and Kennedy out before dawn. She has told Camille they are rescuing Silo 17's children, but Lucas correctly states the hidden objective: find where the safeguard poison enters. The identical silo layout makes 17 a live blueprint for the pipe behind Judicial and 18. Outside, Lucas sees stars, Kennedy confronts the desolate truth, and both reach the field of bodies around Silo 17. A buzzing sound rises, Lucas shouts for them to run, gunfire follows, and the radio goes dead. The episode never shows the shooter, the weapon, or either man falling, so the attack proves danger, not death. Seconds later, the algorithm tells Camille that Lucas, Kyle, and Patrick Kennedy have been neutralized. Camille repeats the claim to Juliet as a suit malfunction, and Juliet's bulletproof suit answer exposes the cover story without identifying the attacker. Then a voice returns on the radio using Kennedy's assigned codename, Deputy Calso, reporting in from 17. He says the children are all right, which confirms Kennedy survived and that the algorithm's report was false. Lucas never speaks on that return call, so Kennedy is alive, but Lucas's status remains unresolved. The near bombing matters because Episode 7 separates two weapons that are easy to collapse into one. The forgetting drug is already moving through the drinking water, and Bernard says its effect begins immediately. The safeguard is a different poison delivered through a pipe behind Judicial. The algorithm has already told Camille that a safeguard cannot be prevented, using Silo 17's dead as its proof, so capping the pipe may only buy time. Teddy's plan is to blast through the wall, reach that pipe in cleaning suits, and cap it before the safeguard can kill the silo. The risk is that rupturing an odorless, colorless gas line could kill anywhere from 100 to 1,000 people. Juliet rejects that price until Bernard shows her mission's diary and Gloria Hildebrandt reads what happened during the earlier forgetting. Salvador Quinn chose mass drugging instead, and Bernard adds that Quinn himself calculated the cost at 2,000 dead from the terror and disorientation that followed. That history changes the trolley problem, because refusing Teddy's smaller immediate risk may leave the entire silo exposed to the larger one. Teddy's team places the charges and begins the countdown, but Kennedy's call reaches mechanical before detonation. Walker cancels the mission, and Teddy confirms that it is off before returning to base. No bomb explodes, no safeguard pipe is capped, and the forgetting drug remains in the water. The mines run a second erasure system, one that needs no drugs and no vault. Sheriff Billings and his deputy question Ed Harwood about Orla Kent, whose body they believe was killed elsewhere and then moved into his tunnels. Harwood never hides the motive. His daughter Glenda was lined up to run supply until Orla Kent took the job. He argues that the silo assigns people their futures based on where they come from, and that Judicial finishes the job. His example is the man who made an egg disappear for children and was sent down because Judicial ruled magic a theoretical relic, punished not for doing a thing but for having an idea. Billings presses him with the 7 investigations Holston once opened, and Harwood's answer is that not one of them ever stuck. The harder reveal belongs to Knox, who asks Mark how his father actually died. Mark admits the tunnel collapse was a cover story, because someone was buried down there, but it was not Knox's father who is still alive. His father designed something for Harwood, and in exchange, the next man to die in the mines died unofficially so that Knox's father could take his place. Mark warns that digging into Harwood makes people disappear, which gives the episode its quietest thesis. The silo has always had more than one way to delete a person. Robert Sims stops treating loyalty as a political question, once helping the resistance means putting his own son in the middle of it. Juliet still needs judicial passes, and Robert uses Anthony's school jacket to move them through a swap that looks harmless on camera. He first persuades Anthony to wear it for picture day. Then a Resistance courier swaps it for a duplicate at his school. The original jacket carries the passes back to the Resistance without Robert meeting Juliet again. Camille notices that the jacket returned to Anthony is not his, which tells her Robert is still working against her. She brings him to judicial seclusion, where Nurse Amy is chained up and no camera can record their argument. Camille draws a gun on Amy to force the truth out of Robert, while Robert asks her to stop putting forgetting drugs in the water. His point is not that he has clean hands because he admits he has done worse things than she has. He is talking her out of pulling the trigger when he says their son deserves at least one parent who has not killed someone. The episode cuts away before Camille answers, leaving her choice unresolved while the water keeps running. The Atlanta passengers look less like rescued witnesses than a compartmentalized recruitment class. Anna puts Daniel and Helen in front of non-disclosure agreements, while Per Stenson adds government lawyers, Guantanamo, and finally $1 million each. Daniel signs because Charlotte has already signed and both siblings want to know what happened to her. Helen accepts a publication delay of no more than 5 years after Thurman says the secret is really about saving the world. On the plane, Charlotte remembers her Iran mission only up to boarding her jet and says the rest is stored in a vault. Daniel supplies the moral correction. Victor helped her remember, but Victor also made her forget. Victor explains that he devised the treatment after a crash killed his daughter Lulu in his arms. He made a private mercy, the ability to choose what to keep, into the same technology now imposed on Silo 18. The exact jobs remain hidden, but the group combines military, medical, political, financial, and narrative power. The government lawyers and Stenson's resources show public authority and private capital operating together. That is why calling them the founders is an implication, not yet an on-screen title. What is shown is a deliberately assembled team being told that secrecy and obedience are the price of saving the world. Daniel's recognition matters because Thurman treats the drill as an answer he should already possess. After landing in Atlanta, the group transfers to helicopters over a property Stenson says covers 300,000 acres and once contained 42 farms. Helen sees the construction site and asks what it is. Thurman turns to Daniel and says he knows, making the moment a test rather than a tour guide explanation. Daniel answers that it is a drill and then calls it a very big drill, as the final aerial shot reveals the excavation. The machine recalls the huge digger chamber beneath Silo 18, while the series has already shown a field of silo craters and established that 50 silos exist. Shown. This is a vast Atlanta excavation, and Thurman expects Daniel to recognize its machinery immediately. Strongly implied, Daniel's earlier work or expertise is already tied to the project, and the passengers are being recruited as specialists who can build and control what follows. The strongest reading is that the drill is meant to excavate the silos, and that Daniel's contribution helps turn the plan into physical infrastructure. A narrower reading is that this is only a prototype or one component, with Daniel recruited for broader technical knowledge rather than sole authorship. The honest unknown is whether the dig serves another contingency, because nobody says silo and the episode does not prove this group built the final 50. For the book readers, the show renamed Donald Keene to Daniel, and Shift makes the Atlanta invitation meaningful without requiring us to spoil the card Thurman has not played on screen. The literal final beat gives us a recognition, not a blueprint, so the drill to silo connection is persuasive but still an inference. The strongest reading is that Daniel recognizes the drill because his own expertise is already embedded in the excavation project, even if the show has not proved he designed the final silos. The Atlanta passengers look less like protected survivors than a compartmentalized recruitment class. Money, memory science, military knowledge, political power, and narrative control gathered under one promise to save the world. Kennedy's survival proves the algorithm's reports are not truth, while the undetonated charges prove Juliet can still interrupt the choices it tries to impose. So is the drill meant to build the silos? Or is Thurman preparing a different contingency? Make sure to subscribe so you never miss our weekly deep dives into the expanding mysteries of the silo. Did the algorithm deliberately lie about Lucas and Kennedy? Or did Kennedy somehow escape its control?